So for the second athlete and injury, the ACL, I've collected some functional movement exercises for them as well. So the first one is heel raises, so you just flex the leg to 90 degrees, as seen in this image here with this woman in the chair. So to regress it, you could use the wall to support the leg, or like she's done in the photo, use a chair or something to hold on to. And then a further regression is to only extend to a 45-degree angle rather than all the way to 90 degrees, just because you're then stretching the leg less, really. You're stretching the muscle less. To progress it, you could hold this in the position here for 5 seconds, just making sure it's nice and controlled, making sure it's nice and balanced. And also to progress it, you could ensure the stretch is controlled and slow, so the whole thing is 10 seconds, so drag it out nice and controlled. The next one is balancing on one leg. So as you can see here, the woman is on the wobble board. So this could be regressed by only lifting the foot sort of just off the floor, so you've got that support network, so the foot can literally is literally only a couple of centimetres off the floor, but it's still balancing on that single leg. And then also you could lean against a wall or use the same technique as this woman, hold a chair or hold a trainer, just to get that extra support in case the balance is very bad on the injured leg. To progress it, you could lean on a Swiss ball against the wall, so have a big Swiss ball against the wall and put your back against it, so you're trying to balance on that as well as balance on your leg. And then the furthest progression is like this photo here, so balance with one leg on a wobble board, because that really takes a lot of balance and control of the muscles in that leg. So this is going to be done for 8 reps, because that's sort of a solid amount of seconds for each one, so about 5 seconds for each stretch, and then it's 3 times 3 sets, and then 20 seconds rest in between, because it's not overly demanding. The next one is a squat. The progression could be a squat followed by an explosive jump and then landing, making sure the knees are being bent when landing. And then further progression could be squat on a wobble board, because it's similar to the thing before. Takes a lot of controlled movements. A regression could be to squat with assistance from a trainer, so holding their hand or them sort of spotting you just to make sure that you're not falling or anything. And then also could lean against a wall when you're squatting, so just do sort of like a ski sit sort of thing, so the knees being strengthened but there's no actual movement, up and down movement. Step ups as well, so here in this photo, simply decreasing the height of the step up block could regress it. It's less movement really, isn't it, for the knee. And then further regression could be making a stepping movement and then bringing back to a standing position, so not actually stepping, but as you can see here, if you were to just lift up the leg to a stepping movement and then bring it back down, so you're not actually putting that pressure on the knee, just doing the movement, just practicing that movement first. To progress it, you could step onto a step up block, obviously like I've said, and then also you could step onto a wobble board. So same thing as before. For phase 3, first exercise, this is strengthening exercises. First one is heel raises, so it's the same exercise as before, same regressions using the wall as a support and extending the leg backwards only a small distance, but the progressions are based on strengthening, because you're using resistant bands or using ankle weights as an introduction of weight and strengthening. So this is just carrying more weight for the knee, so it's just simply strengthening it. The next one is the arabesques, it's this one down here. To progress it, you could use resistant band and ankle weight, same as before, obviously because you're strengthening, you want to put some weight on the muscle, on the joint, sorry. And then to regress it, you extend to only a 45-degree angle, so rather than extending all the way up here, you extend to sort of this region here, so you're not fully extending the legs, so you're not fully stretching anything. And then for assistance, you could use a wall or a trainer just to hold you, so you're not fully balancing on that injured knee. You could also bend the knee slightly to, it would sort of hurt the muscles a bit more because you're working the muscles more, but it might be beneficial for the joint, knee joint. The next one is jumps. So like here, you can see, the next one is walking lunges. So it's the same as I used before in the previous injury. Crouch only slightly when walking is a regression, and static lunges is a regression. And to progress, you can use ankle weights or dumbbells in the hands, or use resistant bands. Just to, this is a really good one for the knee because it's fully stretched out as well as that walking movement. So it's strengthening and moving. So it's sort of functional movements and strengthening all in one. And then, like I was just saying, jumps. So to progress it, you could jump onto a small box like here, or you could hurdle over a small wooden barrier, potentially maybe 2 in a row or something. So you're sort of hurdling rather than just singular jumps. So you're getting that forward motion as well. And then to regress it, you could do a 2-footed jump as far as forward as possible. So just a simple broad jump. So you're not particularly jumping high and landing on a higher surface. You're just jumping forwards. And then you could also do small 2-footed jumps. So just little hops, 2-footed hops. Because then you're not putting as much pressure when you're landing on the knees. Just with these ones, when you are jumping, you need to make sure that when you land, you do bend your knees, because if you don't, you could hyperextend your knee. And just quickly with these ones, all the reps are 8, because it's, introducing weight, all the reps are 8, so they're not too high, but they're not low enough to just be, just to not do anything. Sets, 3 sets and 20-second rests in between. And then phase 4. So phase 4 is obviously sport-specific training. So the first exercise is hopping. So you hold these hops for 2 seconds. So as you can see here, this woman is hopping forwards. So to progress it, you could hold the hop for longer because you're holding that knee in that static hopping position, making sure you're nice and balanced, which improves the knee strength. And then hop and hold and run into a ball with maybe through a small circuit of cones or something like that, just to get in that game situation again. Obviously hopping forward is involved in running as well, because you're landing on one leg each time. You're increasing the pressure being put on the knee joint. To regress it, you just don't hold the body in the hopping position, so you're just hopping forwards as if you're running. And also to decrease the hopping distance, so just smaller strides. Because this is, if you're smaller strides, you're less likely to get higher, so less pressure is going to be put on the knee joint when you land. So this is going to be done 5 times, so 5 hops, and then a quick 30-second break, because it can be quite demanding, especially the larger hops. And then this is done 3 times again. So this is the same throughout all of the activities. They're all done 5 times with 3 sets. It's because they're getting more challenging because they're in that game style situation, and the break's been increased just to make sure that the knee is recovering fully during the break. So the next one is side lunges, as you can see here in this PowerPoint. The woman obviously is just doing sort of a static side position, so you just static lunge, so lunge to the side, get up, lunge to the other side. So that's a regression. Another further regression is to not lunge down the whole way. So put pressure onto one knee at a time, so potentially just a slight shift onto slight shift of pressure onto one side, but not fully lunging, because it's not putting too much pressure on it. To progress it, you could stay as low as possible when lunging, keeping that low centre of gravity that you would need in a football match. And then to progress even further, you could pass the ball between each lunge. So you could lunge down, get up, pass, lunge down the other side, get up, pass. So you're then focusing on those kicking movements with the lunges as well. So getting back into the sport-specific training exercises. The next is shuttle runs. As you can see here, the people just running in between the cones. So you run to the cone and then you run back, run to the cone, run back. It's quite simple. With this one, you've got to be careful of the turns. So when you land on the foot and pivot to turn, you've got to be careful with that, especially with the ACL injury. To regress this, you could decrease the speed at which the athlete is running, so they're taking more care when they're landing on the knee. And to regress it as well, you could do long and slow strides, sort of done at walking pace, so almost like lunges. And then to progress it, you could dribble with the football all the way up and turn, dribble back. Or you could incorporate cones, so you're then dribbling through cones, but you're still sort of running up and back between the cones. For ladder runs as well is the next one, so here, woman on the grass, you sort of could regress it by just running through the ladder backwards and forwards, and then also a gentle jog through the ladder performing high knees, so similar to what I did with the previous athlete and injury. So that's just sort of simple, getting the knee sort of moving, increasing the sort of range of movement with the knee. And then you could progress it by hopping into every other ladder space. So rather than just running, you're hopping and focusing on where you're going to land, hop and hold it, and then hop with the next leg, hold it. So again, same as the first exercise, you're really focusing on keeping that balance and strengthening that knee joint. And to progress it even further, you could step in and out from side of the ladder, so both backwards and forwards at pace. So you're doing side steps in and out the ladder spaces. It's just to increase the range of motion again, because obviously in a football match you're going to be stepping forwards, backwards, sideways. So you're really getting the knee used to those types of movements, especially sideways movements can be very dangerous when you're putting a lot of pressure on it. So obviously if you're going to focus on this progression here, you're going to want to sort of break it down even further and do light landings and then maybe some harder landings just to test the knee out.